Alright. Is it rolling? Yeah, it's rolling, okay. Get Windows Media back up and running. There we go. Okay, everyone. I ran into a bit of a problem early on, as you noticed in the video, where I found an item, but I didn't want people to miss out on it. So I actually have to go through this in the recording because of that. Excuse me, I have some minor difficulties with my allergies tonight. Quite problematic. Also, this video was a bit of a boring one, I'll admit. I do get a lot accomplished, but there's a lot of moments in this video where I'm doing virtually nothing but fighting through a good portion of it. So I apologize for that. But playing a game like this is just something you have to tolerate, because, you know, it's a console-style, turn-based RPG game. That's to be expected at some moments. But I use a source of growth on any, and I get a level up. And I get Heal Rain! One of the best OP skills in the game. OP for being overpowered. What it does, as I'll demonstrate later on in this video, it heals your entire party at once. And it only costs 6 MP for level 1 of that. Pretty cheap overall. Very nice. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a skill I'm going to be abusing much later in the game. And that's probably where most of my mage potion is going to go later on. Because it's cheaper to use physical attacks and heal up with Heal Rain than it is to abuse magical spells. The only time you can see me using magic at that point is when a monster can nuke me with magic. And if I'm facing very fast foes that use it. Very annoying those are. Also, there has been quite an issue these days concerning a certain internet critic that I enjoy watching. That critic is the Spoony one. If you're unaware, I won't get into too many specifics, but apparently he got in an argument with another internet critic called Lordcaf or Jason Polera, and this argument apparently spread out all over the internet, and everyone ended up getting in on it. And a lot of chaos ensued after that. Basically, what ended up happening is the Spoony one is kicked off of Channel Awesome, which owns that guy with the glasses website. So he is no longer welcome there, from what I've heard. Hearing this makes me both sad and angry at the same time. For multiple reasons, actually. I really hate it when people let anger and hatred, in some cases, just blind them like this and make them act irrationally like they have, like this. After reading a lot of Spoony's Twitter and retweets on his Twitter, I have almost lost faith in anyone but Spoony, to be perfectly honest here. Spoony is angry and saying a lot of things he probably doesn't mean, and I can certainly understand that. The other people, though, are totally out of left field. A lot of them are acting very mean-spirited over this, and they're basically accusing Spoony of a lot, that he's not really responsible for. A lot of people have disliked Spoonie for a while, so I've heard, because they claim he doesn't really respect his fans as much as he should. Me personally, I've never had a problem with this. A lot of Spoonie's fans, from what I've seen, aren't really that nice to begin with. I've always believed if you think you should be given respect, you should deserve it, for one thing. And a lot of Spoonie's fans, I don't get this vibe from. A lot of them leave nasty responses, a lot of them try to argue with Spoonie a lot, and really, they're just not that friendly for the most part. There are some exceptions to this. I'm sure he has the fans that like his stuff, and they do respect him. There's just not that many of those, to be honest, and I just don't agree with a lot of the people that hate Spoonie. To this end, I am still gonna watch Spoonie's stuff on his website. I'm not gonna turn on that guy with the glasses or anything. I still like their reviews and will watch them. It's just, after what's happened, I have lost a lot of respect for a lot of the members of Channel Awesome, with a couple of exceptions. There are a couple really mature people on that website that reacted very well to this incident, like Owen Citizen and JC Wataku, and I still have a lot of respect for those two, especially now. They acted a lot more mature than I was actually expecting, and I give them props for that. The rest of them, there are a couple that I really despise now because of the way they've acted. Others just stayed out of it completely. So I don't have an opinion on them, but I won't give out names, but there are a couple of reviewers that I will probably just not have anything to do with them for the most part. I might watch their stuff occasionally, but a lot of these aren't really people that I watch a lot of anyway, so I don't know about them. Oh wow, this statue cheated a little by not wanting to go onto the symbol. Yeah, apparently you can jump over these symbols with these statues, and I just wasn't aware of it. You gotta be careful of that. Anyway, holy crap, 7 cockatrices, really? Oh, oh my god. It's just a helpful note here. I find out later that cockatrices are weak to fire, so that would have been nice to know for this fight. Would have saved me a lot of MP, since I think Fire Drake kills them outright, and it only costs 6 MP to use that. Would have saved Edward a lot too, since ice isn't something they're weak to, and it's very pricey to use. But I got a lot of EXP out of the deal. Huh, pretty nice that. That can be a bit nightmarish if they're faster than you though. Oh great, it's this place again. A good portion of this video is just going to be going through this place. I mess up a couple of times and get trapped in holes. And I also try to figure out the proper path to solving this floor, and that can take a while. I don't really have anything else to say about the Spoonie incident. Just that I was really hoping that the conclusion to this would have been a lot less painful on everyone, but it doesn't look like that's the case. I would like to say that maybe that Spoonie and the rest could turn this around, but after what's happened, I just don't see that happening. This is going to be very awkward for quite a while for a lot of people, and this is a really bad time for this to happen too, because Spoonie was involved with a lot of different programs. Like, he was supposed to be involved with the Samus Not movie. He, of course, was supposed to also be in the 4th anniversary movie. 4th year movie, I mean. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I'd like to think that they wouldn't let their personal affairs interfere with making a good product. I don't know that to be the case, though. We'll have to see on that one. This is just very annoying for me, because this is the last thing I ever wanted to happen. I'm pretty depressed, actually. Ever since I found that out, every time I go in back out of the classes, I just get this feeling of anguish whenever I watch a review now. I'm sure that will go away over time, but for the moment, I'm just really tired, you know, of everything that's been going on. I just have to hope that they can pull it together. I don't know how anyone else is treating this, but I hope people will be very understandable when they look at Spoonie, though, because I have seen a lot of people that are actually very hateful over this, and I really don't want to wish this on anyone, especially Spoonie, because, you know, he's a little upset, sure, but I don't think it's fair to really hate him for this. It's just not, you know, I can understand him feeling like this, because, I mean, it's not the first time he's been through something like this for sure. He sometimes gets in slumps and whatnot, and it can be hard to get out of that. And if you haven't noticed, I'm pretty much lost in here, because I have to find that second symbol, and it's not easy to locate. They put it in a very awkward spot. Thankfully, if you don't have the head following you, you have all the time in the world to really find it. Do be careful though, because going down the southern path, you're blocked both ways by a magic symbol, which will steal your MP. So, try to be careful of that. Yes. Ice Warriors and an Imp. The Imp is a new enemy, which is a bit of a pain. He, I believe, knows Thunder level 1. I think. I can't recall. He's also as defensive as his cousin, the Gargoyle. And he loves to block your hits, too, which is a pain in the rear. So overall, just try to kill him as fast as you possibly can. I haven't seen him use Thunder yet, but he might still have it. And in case you're wondering why the camera is going crazy on me, it's because if you press the L and R buttons, you get different perspectives of the camera, but the different perspectives aren't that good, and I think the default is still the best one, even if it can sometimes mess you up. Especially later on in the game, because the backgrounds can be kind of annoying. The Dark Elves are easily the biggest threat in here, though, because they're really fast, and their spells are pretty destructive. Thankfully, Hill Rain makes that all better. Most people don't have it when they come here, though, so that can be a bit of a pain to deal with. I'm technically pretty over-leveled for where I'm at, so I'm going to be going through these places a lot easier than most would. I believe it's soon when I find the spot I need, but getting to it is tricky. It's a tricky symbol to actually get to with the statue. You have to essentially remember the exact spot and path that you need to take. And yeah, I almost messed this one up. Because there are holes surrounding every path leading to it, so you have to pretty much have the path memorized. This really isn't the best dungeon to have a place like this either, since the real challenge comes at the end of the dungeon. You'll see what I mean. It's a bit of a doozy too. You better have some mage potion with you when you do this next part. Yep, there it is. All the way on the right side of the field, but surrounded by holes. I'm really glad they didn't decide to reuse this mechanic later on in the game, because if someone really felt like it, they could really mess you up. And with the random encounter occurrence in this game, it can really get on your nerves in a place like this, when you're trying to remember something. I don't usually mind the random encounter rate, because the experience in gold does help, since you don't really get all that much of it at once, and the extra battles really help towards gaining this. And there will come a time in the game when I'll be glad for it. But that is a little ways down the road. Coconut. Coconut is good. Coconut is especially good if you're drinking juice straight from the coconut. I've heard people like coconut milk a lot too. Star Tropics especially made it look really popular. But from my personal experience, I think coconut juice straight from the coconut is a lot better. It's technically called coconut water because it's clear. And when I think of coconut milk, that's usually the first thing I think of. And that's really what I thought of when I played Star Tropics. I thought they were drinking it straight from the coconut. But coconut milk is really nothing like that. And I've actually heard it tastes pretty disgusting. Compared to coconut juice, anyway. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I decide to just say screw it and just take the MP loss down here. And hopefully not screw this up. I still technically could have, but I really didn't want to take any chances with this one. I wanted to take the safest route possible. And that didn't mean running into a hole. And there we go. This floor is officially solved, since you'd have to be pretty darn stupid to run into a hole at this point. Which is nice. However, I did take a minor MP loss, so I'll be using a mage potion in just a second. And this is where I learned that cockatrices are actually weak to fire. Not sure why, they just are. Pretty sweet. Also, you do tend to get a lot of experience in here, which will help a lot later on. Because the dungeon after this can be a bit of a pain. Though I admit that dungeon solutions aren't that bad in the next dungeon. No, the monsters are just a pain. And the next dungeon is technically 2 places long, so it's a bit of a long trek. Which means I have to be really, stingy about my MP usage, because as long as that place can take, you don't want to use up your best magic too soon. Unless you want to go through a lot of Mage Potion, which I personally can't really afford right now. Heck, I'm lucky just to be able to afford the Mage Potion I've bought so far. The gold I'm getting is enough to where I can replenish the ones I've used, but that's about it. I can't exactly afford to just stock up on nothing but Mage Potion yet. It'll be a while until I can do that. At some point down the road, I will have to do gold grind of destiny of sorts. More like the level grind of destiny, because some of these new areas coming up are a bit tough. And especially when I get to the end of the first half of the game, I will really have to level up a lot. So, there's that. Now for the end of the dungeon. If I haven't made it obvious by now, there's something at the end of this dungeon that... crap. I believe I just used that on Samson by accident. I make that mistake a lot. I also make a mistake and don't put the fire items on different party members, which makes this next thing a little bit harder. I'm really trying to keep this spoiler free, but I really don't think I need to worry too much because ooh, I almost used this game at level 1. That would have sucked. A lot of people probably don't care about me keeping this spoiler free, so I'm still gonna do it anyway, just in case. Taunt could technically use another Mage Potion, but oh well. Yep, we're actually facing a boss for a change. The Water Demon. When I first got to this part of the game, I was totally, just overtaken by this. Yeah, this boss fight is mean. For the part of the game that you actually fight him in, he is very strong. You're gonna see proof of that very shortly. Unlike some bosses later on, he doesn't start off tough right away, but he is very strong though. They didn't make him too overpowering, but if you come unprepared for this dungeon, he will murder you. They were kind enough, however, to make him weak to fire. That 8 damage may not seem like much, but if he combos this next turn with one of his magical attacks, he can actually take a person out. So try to keep people healed up if it's at all possible. Also, he tends to hide behind a statue with the camera, so you can't see the damage taken. Very cheap. Do not be tempted to use any magic here. because you need it for healing. I lucked out a lot during this fight, since he didn't use his magic too often. Previous attempts at fighting this boss has shown that he's not usually that generous. I guess this is probably kind of payback for Saigon lucking out in the Orochi fight, since I seem to luck out just as much in this fight. It's only fair. The Orochi fight that he went into was still pretty unfair, how he won so easily. But whatever. Also, it's worth noting that usually you don't get criticals off against bosses because of what level they are. And the only reason I'm able to is I think I am 3 levels above the level recommendation for this part of the game. So that has a lot to do with it. And all I can really say is, keep abusing your fire stuff until you beat him. Or you die, one or the other. And this is his magical spell, Ice Level 2. Yeah, it's pretty strong, and can do a lot of damage. So without Heal Rain, it's gonna be luck of the draw, really, how often he uses it. Thankfully, you do have LP in this game, so if you have a lot of it, you can last quite a while. The biggest problem in this fight is just having enough MP to outlast him with your healing. Oh yeah, you can also use the healing potion sometimes to heal some of the damage you've done. Thankfully, you can usually do about 30 damage per turn anyway, so it's just pretty much a turn waster, really. And sometimes you do even more than 30, so it actually doesn't help him at all. In that sense, it's good that he does that. Hey, better that than spamming ice, right? Changing the camera in this fight can sometimes help, since he likes to hide behind that one statue. And there he goes with ice again. Cheating piece of crap. Wow, Samson's actually pulling his weight, it seems. I also completely forget in this fight that Edward has the awesome fire cards and whatnot, which he technically could have been using this entire time. Yay for preparations for nothing. Huh. Oh well, he's still not an overly hard boss, but he does have a lot of HP, or VP as it stands. I think he has about 900. So you do have to keep up the fight for quite a while. This is usually why I recommend, actually, coming here with a lot of Fire Drake faces. Oh, and I love this. He summons just the creature I needed. Look at that damage. Don't get cocky, though. That kind of scenario doesn't happen all the time. I wish. It would be kind of nice. Mind you, Fire Drake is still just as powerful on this guy, but that was still nice for that to happen. And transition. Okay. In the recording, the transition probably won't happen. So this audio will probably be 1 second off. But hey, I didn't want to get Camtasia up and running just to do this commentary. Heck, it's late enough as it is. Yeah, it's really late nowadays when I do these commentaries, so it can be sometimes very difficult to find enough time to get everything set up, which is why I'm doing it with Windows Media tonight. That, and the screen is bigger when I use Windows Media, so it's easier to comment on really what's going on. Also, I love how heal rain in battle is weaker than when you use it outside of battle. Outside of battle, it heals 20 to everyone. And in battle, it heals 15. And that's all for the water demon. Oh well. Well, technically Samson isn't a child, but yeah. This is another case of a band of mere children defeating ancient demons and whatnot. Oh, and now we get to meet the elusive Domino for the first time. We shall do so, Domino. Domino, to me, is one of the most likable characters in the game. He has a pretty nice attitude. His motivation is vengeance because of his family. And he has the power of prophecy, where he can sense the future and what's going to happen. Pretty interesting character, and he's definitely someone you want to know more about. We'll see him a little bit later in the game. But right now, we have more pressing matters at hand, like trying to lift Samson's curse and rescue both Zalagoon and Marion from Bandor's grasp. Bandor hasn't taken over yet, but you know that they're planning on doing so. And if we don't do anything, then they're pretty much doomed, so Zalagoon is in much danger as we are. So time is of the essence. And we've wasted a lot of time already because of Samson's curse, so odds are we're going to be in danger any second. Not much we can do about it, though. Zalagoon won't give us the manpower we need unless we prove ourselves. And unfortunately, the king is being a royal pain about helping us unless we can lift that pillar. Also, I had to use quite a few mage potions going through that place because of the boss, so I have to spend a decent penny trying to get it all back. On the bright side, though, I do get that ribbon in the Misty Valley going back through it. So that's nice. It's not anything really special, but I would like it anyway. And now the Statue of Gaia is now useless. So I will be getting rid of that as soon as possible. But that'll have to wait till I can get back to Isla so I can store it. Yeah, the storage chest in Isla is pretty much useless for the first 20 or so hours of the game, since you cannot get back there for a while. Later on in the game, though, it'll be useful. Normally, you could just spam the escape spell with a mage potion and just skip the entire Misty Valley. But I want to fight in there for extra experience and gold, as well as get that item. So I'm going to be fighting the entire time. So yeah, just prepare for that. The escape spell is useful though if you're in a hurry. I kind of like the Misty Valley. It's short, and the gimmick in there isn't particularly annoying. It's actually pretty creative. I really like it. Honestly, if more people would have appreciated this game, I would have really loved to see the sequel of it. Because there's a lot of potential there, especially with what we'll see at the end. I don't know. I don't have anything to really talk about at this point, since I think this is the most accomplishment I get in this video, since the rest of it is just going back towards the village of Opera to prepare for the trek up the Tower of Holland. The good news is the game is about to get a lot better. This is really the point of the game where a lot of exposition will be explained to us, and we'll learn a lot of stuff that we didn't know previously. It's definitely one of the better parts of the game for me, since this is really the first time, for a while, that they really try to advance the plot. Because while we are given some information throughout the game, I think the game, when we failed to lift the pillar at Salagoon, actually halted the plot in its tracks until we could lift Simpson's curse. And up until this point, we've been just kind of going place to place, trying to solve the problem. That's probably wouldn't be considered the best way to plan out the game's storyline, but they do make up for it once you get far enough. Because they just unload so much plot onto us in the next area. Like, it is incredible how much we actually learn. It's actually kind of refreshing, really. You know, when you examine how this game started, you wouldn't think this would be one of those games with a really heavy plot that would keep you entertained. If anything, you'd think that the plot for this would be just as generic as, most Shining Force games are. since most Shining Force games share a similar plot, where it's one kingdom against another kingdom. There's some otherworldly powers at work, but you fight them like you would fight any other foe. And at the end, you emerge victorious. What made Shining Force work, though, is the ingenious gameplay and the lovable characters, and how they react to each other. And that's true for this game as well. This game has a lot of colorful characters to it, as well as Goen-san. It's also like that too, but I think Goen-san got away with the whole kingdom versus kingdom thing, and tried to take a more original approach to the storyline, which I can appreciate. I think Goen-san's problem, though, is that, for one thing, they made the humongous mistake of splitting the story between two different games, and spending way too long to release the second. Because when I played the first one, I was pretty much hooked, but the first game was, to be perfectly honest, a pretty short game. I think I beat it in my first time in like, I think 20 hours, if even that long. And by the time it was over, I was wanting to sink my teeth into more of the game. But I think 2 years or more, can't remember, went by before I played the second one. And by then, I had forgotten a lot of the original game. So, I actually just played the second one. And I had almost completely forgotten the plot to the first one by then, so I had no idea what was going on, for the most part. And I didn't feel like playing the first one again to get a refresher course. So, a lot of stuff went right over my head in the second one, but it was still a fun ride. And if anything, the second one blew the first one out of the water, like completely. As much fun as the first Golden Sun was, I felt that it was a little bit lacking in the development department, since I felt like a lot of the characters were coming into your party by way of circumstance. And it felt like that, for the most part, Mia and Ivan were joining you just because it was the right thing to do. They had no real motivation, so to speak, for joining you. Only because it was their destiny and whatnot. And while destiny plays a big part in Golden Sun, I kind of felt there still should have been some kind of motivation for them wanting to fight these guys. Aside from just, we have to stop them from lighting the lighthouses because someone told us to, I guess. Yeah, even when I first played Golden Sun the first time, I did kind of feel like this is very generic storytelling, you know, like, you're not giving a very good reason for what you're doing, you're just going on the journey because you're the good guys and they're the bad. It is until the second game that they actually explain why lighting the lighthouses is really bad. And you actually learn that, despite in the I'm sorry if I'm spoiling this for a lot of you folks, but this is the only way I can think to explain this. Apparently, the bad guys in the first game aren't really bad, so to speak. They're just very desperate. Because you find out that because of the seal and alchemy, their hometown is a frozen wasteland, so to speak. And they want to light the lighthouses to make their lives better. It's just that, you know, by way of doing so, they have very desperate methods of how to solve this problem. I can kind of understand their plight, though. They are talking about relighting the lighthouses, and I can imagine not many people would take that very well. They'd probably tell them to buzz off and go back to their hometown. And chest. The angel ribbon. We know who that's going to. Not you, Finn. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw away the herb, because why not? They're not that expensive. Anyway, also, it might be just me, but the Elders of Vale, which was guarding the sanctuary Soul Sanctum that is protecting the seal, the elders there did come off as kind of preachy and very overprotective of alchemy. Almost to the point where they were trying to keep it a secret that Soul Sanctum was even there. And as we would later find out, sealing alchemy in the first place was causing more harm than good. Because, as you'll find out, sealing alchemy has actually caused the world to, I guess the easiest way to explain it is it's trying to recompensate with the lack of alchemy by shrinking its landmass to where it's using up less energy. So, as it turns out, releasing the seal in alchemy is actually what they should have been doing all along. And that's actually the main quest for Golden Sun 2, is everyone decides to relight all the lighthouses, which is the exact opposite of what you were trying to do in the first game. So, I honestly found this just I found Golden Sun 2, the storytelling was just so much better. You learned so much more in the second game than you did in the first. And the motivations felt so much less generic. You actually were giving a reason why you're doing what you're doing, and I just loved it so much. Also, an interesting twist in the second one is that Felix, who could talk in the first game, is now silent. And Isaac, who could not talk in the first game, now had a voice. I really don't understand why they gave Isaac the ability to talk, but I understood why Felix was silent. They were trying to keep the silent main character. I'm trying to think of the term for this. It's kind of like a staple for turn-based RPGs to have characters that can't talk, or at least main characters, because they want to feel like you're the main character, that you are going in this fast journey. And if you're curious, if you come back to Luna, well, I go to the end first, of course, because I really need one. However, as you'll recall, there's a person here that had their Vase of Life stolen and was acting like a bit of a jerk about it. If you try to talk to him now, he says something different. If you say you'll return it to him, nothing will happen from it, because he won't think you can get it back. Yeah, he's turning emo because he can't get a single base back. I understand the power it holds, but I think by now he should be getting over it and just trying to look for another rare item. But no, he's just gonna continue acting like a Mr. Whiny Pants. Yeah. But anyway, Golden Sun 2 was so much better game. Like, I always say that all day long. That doesn't mean to say that I hate the first game in the series, but it's when it comes to the story, I tend to like ignore it almost completely because I've seen it so many times at this point, and it's not that interesting, really. I've seen stories like this like 100 times. The whole generic, you know, good guys versus bad guys thing. And while they do put their own little spin on it, it's still not anything too creative. However, I will say one thing. For the little amount of time that I've left. Yeah, it is still a great deal better than Golden Sun Dark Dawn. I'll probably get into that more in the next episode, but that game, to me, was just one disappointment after another. There wasn't anything I saw in Dark Dawn that screamed awesome to me. If anything, I just felt like it was a rehash, more or less, of the previous two games. Since the goal was pretty much the same, and they don't really do anything to really, like, wow you in this one. And if anything, even the characters you get feel like very much a rehash of their parents, more or less. There are a couple characters that are a little different, but if you've played the first two Golden Sun games, then all of these characters are essentially characters you've seen before, with the exception of maybe one character, and that's the werewolf girl. Having a werewolf character as a recruit was interesting, but that's probably the closest I think they actually came to a really interesting character. And even then, she wasn't all that special, so yeah, that was kind of annoying. I'll talk about it more in the next episode, but it really wasn't that great. Well, I will see you guys later.